Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Call It Anything podcast. I am Jack, joined by my guest.
It's Mr. Solis!
And we are back here today, and just as Mr. Solis and I were saying right now, just before recording, it has been quite some time due to the fact that there hasn't been a real big event in the time in between.
I mean, there's been a few Wrestle Dynasties, Wrestle Kingdom, Saturday Night's Main Event, Raw, Netflix debut, but, none that quite compare to the historic event of the one we're talking about today.
Yeah. And, this Rumble, it's always a spectacle, and it's always such a difficult one to cover. You and I always have difficulty trying to figure out, well, how do we do it since there's so much to cover. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Sir, before we get into things, how have you been?
I've been good, Jack. I was a little sick last week, like a lot of other people. I'm over it, feeling much better. But, it's the winter season. We're a month into the school semester, and as JR used to say, business is picking up.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
How about you, sir?
I've been doing all right. The family has been doing all right over here. Just been, taking it day by day.
And congratulations on your Eagles' recent success.
Yeah, very, very excited.
That's this weekend.
Yep. I'll share this with you, and knowing me, because of how my luck is when it comes to podcasting, it'll age terribly, right after. But so on my birthday, because that's another thing that passed in between our recordings, was my birthday.
That's right.
Yeah. We were talking to some of my cousins back in California, and because of the times we would go to Korean barbecue, they asked me if I had gotten any soju out here, and I was like, I haven't been able to find it. And they kept talking to my dad and I on the phone the entire time, and little did I know, as they were talking to us, they were placing an order to be delivered to our house.
Wow.
And so what they delivered was 4 bottles of soju.
What soju?
It is Korean alcohol.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So it's 2 bottles of peach, 1 of yogurt, which was interesting. I didn't really like it. And 1 of strawberry. And the reason I'm bringing this up in relation to the thing is, after we won the first game, I opened one up. And then it became basically a tradition. If they win the playoff game, we open one up. Because originally my family wanted to open all of them and try them. But I was like, I have this idea. So I've been opening one up for every game we won. So we got 3. And I'm saving strawberry for last if they can pull it off in the Super Bowl. And I told my dad, if they pull it off, I'm going to get a marker. And I'm going to write down the scores of each game and keep the bottles as memory.
What a very Don Felipe thing to do. Don Felipe being my dad. He'd do something like that. He had a little football on display in his den that had the Rose Bowl score for USC versus Texas, University of Texas in 2004 or 5. It was a heartbreaking game, Jack. USC lost by a field goal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and some folks maybe are still getting over it.
Yeah, but so, we've been enjoying our time out here.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and we're super excited for the Super Bowl on Sunday. I asked my dad, I'm like, so what are our plans? He's like, we're gonna enjoy.
That sounds great. My brother-in-law and my sister are coming into town for the weekend, and they're gonna come watch the game too. Because they like my brother-in-law and my dad. They like to bond over football. Whoever's playing.
Yeah.
And I'll be rooting for Kendrick Lamar.
Oh man. Well, I, as an advocate of the Eagles, I try and paint us in a better light than the minority of fans that the media chooses to highlight when it comes to the Eagles. So I
saw, by the media, sure you mean the social media, because I saw a funny Instagram reel where the guy was like, so the city says that they have these preparations for if the Eagles win, and they have these preparations in place for if they lose. And they're like the same riot-proof preparations.
Yeah. But, a lot of people have been trying to put in the good work to paint us in a better light than the media has in all our years of existence.
Right on.
And it's funny because, I don't want to keep going on too much, but I told my dad, if people keep doing this, I'm gonna have to pull out that story he always tells about Raider fans to show them what that it isn't us as the most craziest fan base or the most violent fan base when you got the Raiders over there.
The Raiders have all the craziness and passion, and just without the wins. Like at least Philadelphia is going to the Super Bowl. Like these guys, what's really driving them? I think it's something else. I'll end with this, Jack. I think I told your dad. I don't know if you heard me on the phone, but my favorite recent meme is a map of the country, and if it's red, it's who's rooting for Kansas City, and it's a little spot in Missouri. And if it's green, it's who's rooting for the Eagles, and it's a little spot in Philadelphia. And the rest of the country's gray, which corresponds in the key to the people who are ready for baseball season to start.
I saw that one too. And it's funny because, people are rooting against the Chiefs because they're like a dynasty, and they're rooting against the Eagles because they don't like them. But it's like people are like, oh, yeah, we want baseball season to come back. Guess who's building a dynasty over in baseball that's becoming obnoxious?
What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. You and your crazy talks about talking about. You don't know nothing about any of that.
Oh, man. But getting right into things, because there is quite a lot to cover despite only a 4-match card, but with the 2 matches there's always a difficulty with figuring out how to cover them.
Oh, 100%, Jack. And then you know what I was thinking? I was really kind of in my feelings about like a 4-match card. I'm like, how are they getting away with this, right? Like this feels like shrinkflation. This feels like smaller nuggets. This feels like we used to get more. And I go, but between 2 Rumbles, there were over 60 wrestlers on this show. How could I be mad?
Yeah, I definitely kind of felt a similar way because I was like, man, especially because by the end, with how long the show was, like I forget how long in total it was, but like I was trying to like do the math, and I was like, it really felt like maybe they could have had one more, but it's like, then again, would you rather a short pay-per-view or one that goes on longer than it needed to? That's all a big debate.
Have it both ways, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe that too. I'm like, I think you could add another match without, going too long,
Raw on Netflix is another one trying my patience because it's like 2.5 hours for how many matches? Like 4, 3?
Yeah. And then, of course, all the commercials.
Like, is everyone hurt? Just tell me everyone's hurt.
Yeah, no lie. And speaking of hurt, that plays a factor into this show because a lot of people could be returning from injury.
It's the best time of the year, Jack. This is it. Who's coming back?
Yeah. But we start this show off with the Women's Rumble. How do we cover this without getting straight to the finish and ranting for 30 minutes?
You know what I was thinking? And it's funny because we've done this multiple times, but I also, Jack, was wondering just like how you and I will talk about this. I think maybe what I came up with was, if we just kind of breeze through the 30 entrants as they come in, we could shout out moments, just as they come by, what moments resonated with you, stood out to you?
Yeah.
The women's Rumble was stacked.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying. I should have had this pulled up before. I want to pull up the predictions ahead of time.
Ooh, yes. You asked who was gonna win, and I had my feelings, and I sent you what I thought, and you sent me back yours.
Yeah. So real quickly for the listening audience, and this has all started because my dad and I like to, talk about the event before it happens. So we gave our predictions. I'll just run down quickly the Rumble predictions ahead of time. So everyone that I asked, Mr. Solis, my dad, myself, and I asked Ricky as well, who's winning both Rumbles? For the men, all 4 of us, even me begrudgingly, but I was trying to jinx the man. The 4 of us all picked CM Punk to win the Men's Royal Rumble, with my dad putting a wild card in for John Cena, And then the women's rumble went as following. Ricky and Mr. Solis said Charlotte. My dad said Jade because he was hoping she would return. And I said Io was going to win it. And I bring all this up not only to give you our predictions to see how they age, but because my prediction went out the window right away with the women's rumble, because in at number 1 came Io Sky.
Who could have done it, Jack? She could have, gone the distance. But I thought of you right away when she came out.
Yeah, as soon as I heard her music and saw her come out, I was like, oh, man, there goes my pick.
Liv Morgan is number 2. And the commentary are funny because they're talking about what a daunting task number 1 has to have to go the distance. And then I think Barrett goes, hey, technically number 2 has to go the exact same distance since they're starting at the same time. But you don't even get the accolades of being able to tell people you started from number 1.
Yeah.
Commentary, we're on something tonight.
Yeah, and before that, my dad and I were talking about like who we were expecting, like as far as surprises or anything.
Yeah.
And so one of the ones we discussed was, hey, how many people from NXT do we see? And
I told you, Jack, I thought if it wasn't Charlotte, barf emoji, who would I be rooting for? And really, a lot of people on the NXT roster who could jump up, make themselves famous. Like Jim Ross told Jeff Hardy to do that one Raw match. Make yourself famous, right?
Yeah. So that was something we were kind of expecting, and I bring it up again, to segue into number 3, Roxanne Perez shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, because a lot of them are still scheduled for like NXT events, I wonder if any of them are actually going to be called up, or are they waiting till after Mania,
Stand and deliver.
Yeah.
Because, she's in a match in February at Valentine's Day Massacre, whatever they call it. No, they call it, what's the February event for NXT?
Vengeance Day, I think?
Vengeance Day. And then, she's probably going to fight Bailey, given the story, at Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, but she comes in, and she ends up getting a lot of time in this Rumble.
She sure does. After her is Laya Valkyria, the reigning first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. Did you see her win that, Jack, on Raw?
I believe I did.
She fought Dakota Kai?
Yeah.
In a match that may or may not have lost time due to Penta going over?
Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know who lost time, but I watched that match, Jack, going, what else were they going to do? They did so much. Big old suplex to the outside. It's brutal.
Yeah, definitely. And then one champion after the other, because in at number 5 comes Chelsea Green.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice, Jack, that Lyra Valkyria had a bit of a wardrobe malfunction and she was trying to fix it mid-match? And did you see what Liv did?
I saw she hit her in the back, but it was something that I think a lot of people had a similar thought as me, where it's I wouldn't have noticed it if commentary didn't mention it.
Yeah, but coming in clutch, Liv knocks, hits her in the back so that she falls towards the corner and, completely out of view so she can fix her top. What a class act, that street trash, Liv Morgan.
Oh, man. It's always tough remembering spots, especially in the early stages, because it's you somewhat establish some of the talent that's going to stay in the Rumble, but also some of the fodder,
Oh, yeah.
Chelsea
Green came in with that strong slap number 2 from No Mercy on N64. She came in with just Paya to Laya Valkyria, and I think Paya to Roxanne.
Yeah, after her comes B-Fab, Ivy Nile, and Zoe Stark. Ivy Nile's with Chad Gable. I confuse her and Zoe Stark for some reason.
That's funny. Well, they're built. You know what I mean? They're strong. They're in factions. Ivy Nile got the "You suck" chant from the crowd because their song's a bit of a, offshoot of Kurt Angle, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool, that the fans, take any opportunity. Hey, you're wearing red, white, and blue, and you're aligned with a guy who's kind of a cheese ball. Yeah. Yeah, I know what to do here.
You mentioned, them being built. Well, back to back, we get Lash Legend and Bianca Belair after that.
That's true.
Yeah, and that
Um,
was another NXT one that my dad and I were kind of expecting.
that was, and she's like, yeah, no, she could, like, she's built for the Rumble.
Yeah.
She hit a fall away slam on somebody. It's always impressive. Ivy Nile hit a German suplex on Chelsea Green, who was at the time holding on to Roxanne Perez in quite the feat.
Yeah. Uh, After that, Shayna came in. I know Bailey came in, and then Sonya. So they completed the whole. I always forget their name. Pure something.
They're the Pure Fusion Collective, Jack. You fake fan.
Yeah.
Don't you get it, Jack? They are a collective of individuals, and they fuse together in a manner most pure.
Oh man.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. Truly. Um. I.
You know what's more awkward than their name? Them, the
Yeah.
group. Because, like, I think commentary want me to believe that they're a force to be reckoned with. I don't know, Jack. I saw a lot of standing around and waiting for cues and not doing nothing.
Not only that, but like their only group accomplishment in the Rumble was all of them getting eliminated back to back to back.
I think their only, like, elimination was, like, Maxine Dupree. I don't know if they're credited for throwing anyone else out.
Oh man. I think usually like the Wikipedia.
I have the Wikipedia open.
Yeah, like that one usually kind of shows you who got eliminated by who.
Yeah.
Or like, oh no, it does, oh yeah, it does show you that, and then it shows you like how many each person had eliminated, and yeah, it only shows that they have one. And
Absurd, Jack. And I was listening to a podcast reflect on the whole event. And, like, even though Roxanne Perez was in there for a record setting hour and 7 minutes, Jack, she had one elimination.
oh yeah, I see that right now too.
It was a big one, but she went an hour without eliminating nobody. Liv was in there for an hour. She eliminated 2 people. EO was in there for an hour. She eliminated 1 person. We could have diversified here, Jack. I think by now we're literally already a third of the way, and I felt it. I was like, oh, we've not thrown enough people over. That's the whole shtick. It's the entrances and it's the eliminations.
Yeah, no lie, and especially when you see some of the people who got the majority of eliminations later, it's like you definitely feel that whole like we could have done a bit more. Like there's specifically someone who makes their debut and only eliminated one person.
It's not like you're short on people. There's 30 people in this thing.
Oh, man.
Hey, after Sonya Deville, it was Maxine Dupree.
Yeah.
Fun to see her do her thing.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if I just haven't been paying attention enough, but like that feud with Gable's faction must still be going on because she eliminates Ivy Nile.
Yeah, you get the sense that there's unresolved issues. Like, Chad beat Otis pretty handedly, I think, but, I think there's still some unresolved issues, which will come up in the men's as well.
Yeah.
It's a Triple H era story, Jack. It's like, there's no ending.
There's no after her, we get Naomi and then Jada Parker, which you had shouted out before the show.
Yes, and I heard this podcast, Jack, talk about, like, she's with a tag team called OTM, Out the Mud, Jack. And they shared a pretty cool ring entrance song. And I guess if she's, like, maybe going sort of on her own, they gave her some super whack general song, and this podcaster goes, why didn't you give the whack song to the tag team? Give her the good song.
Oh man, yeah, no lie. The biggest talking point was Def Rebel, and like I told Mr. Solis, it just gave me flashbacks to the 2022 Rumble where no one could recognize anyone.
Goodness gracious, we're gonna come. We're a few entrants away from maybe one of the more egregious offenses of Death Rebel.
Yeah, definitely. After her, Piper Niven comes in, and then
So,
Natalia.
so here's a spot, Jack, that's worth mentioning. So Jada Parker's there, locks eyes with Lash Legend, two NXT black women demonstrating their strength and power, right, in this new era. And then they're flanked by Naomi and Bianca. And hey, look at us. Look at us. Right? Did you look at how far this industry's come, this company's come, and they themselves as individuals and professionals. And they're having a moment, and I think the Indianapolis crowd is into it. But Chelsea Green lets herself into there too because it's funny. And she's like, hey, look at us. Would you look at us?
Yeah, and then I like the way that they, how they built it where all four of them beat down on Chelsea, and then who comes in next? Piper to help her.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Chelsea knew who was coming because I didn't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like that spot too. Future's bright.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then after Piper came Natalia, which I don't know if that's technically a return or not. I don't remember when was the last time she was on Raw.
We'll count it as a return.
And then the one I was bringing up earlier, number 19, the big old surprise, I'm hosting a party for my mom or something, so I'm most definitely not going to be there. Jordan Grace showing up.
Absurd. I heard all that, Jack, too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. But she shows up. She's rumored to have officially signed on with WWE. And she only gets one elimination in this match.
She's in there for 22 minutes, Jack. Got one elimination. Come on now. Well, she also gets, pretty substantial moment of hitting a Death Valley Driver on Piper Niven with ease.
Yeah, that was a crazy spot.
That was pretty crazy. She also eliminated Jada Parker, stamping her as an ultimate heel in my eyes.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to set up anything. And, does that mean what? That Jordan's starting off in NXT? I would hope not, just because it's there's so many women down there already. They're stacked.
Yeah, let's find a place for her on Monday or Friday.
Yeah. After her comes in Michin.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, another return at 21 with Alexa Bliss coming back.
Her song got def-rebelled, but they kept just enough of it at the beginning for you to recognize it.
A bit of technical difficulties once again, but we're back here. Mr. Solis was talking about her entrance, that there was just enough of it to recognize, and then that's when it cut off.
And I think they caught on to what they're doing and what they're doing wrong because they put her name up almost even sooner than her music hit so that everyone was clear who was coming. And Jack, did you see her jacket?
I didn't.
The camera didn't either, but that's okay because eagle-eyed viewers and folks on Instagram noticed that on the back, she threw it off right away at the entrance, but the camera should have lingered on it. It said, Friends Forever, but the R and the S in Friends was very, very small. And so the bigger letters said Fiend Forever.
Mm.
And she's out there with a new Lily doll. And, she's got the spooky makeup, but the goddess... What did she used to call herself? Goddess?
Yeah.
But the goddess music, an interesting blend.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I wasn't too happy to see the doll, but I was like, well, it's somewhat of a blend, and we just got to see where she goes with this.
Yeah, I liked, there was a period of time before she got hurt or before she left or before she got pregnant where she was normal looking, but everything that was her old character was lingering under the surface or, just behind that dark corner.
Yeah. After her, Zelina Vega comes in. Candice LeRae comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get another NXT appearance with Stephanie Vacour showing up.
Should have won. She could have won. Who would have been mad, Jack? We only would have made a star. Is that, come on.
What happened to Moments?
What happened to Moments, Jack?
It's especially even more of an argument when you see who eventually wins this Rumble.
I'm gonna throw up, Jack. And you know what's funny? No, I'll say it when it happens. I'll say it when it happens. But I'm having a good time, Jack. Like I am still actually am very aware of how many people have not been eliminated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's been slow in that respect, but I'm excited to see all the faces. I'm like, this is nonstop. You know, there's no lull so far. Like, this is cool.
Yeah. Right after that, Trish comes out.
Trish!
Yeah. Been a while since we've seen, like some like surprises in the sense of like, it's older talent coming back for an appearance.
And I think they did something, Jack, on purpose. I think she's number 25 because she had a logo on the screen. I think it's on her shirt. Like, she's celebrating her 25th anniversary in the business, which makes sense because I think she broke into this business in front of everybody in the year 2000.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you hear Michael Cole?
No.
He was referencing the fact that her cowboy hat and her jacket were very reminiscent to her outfit when she was started on SmackDown in 2000 as a manager. Jack, for $1 million, who did she manage?
Was it Albert and Tess?
It was, and Michael Cole is very careful to say she managed the tag team T and A. And I heard somebody say that they didn't want to accidentally say TNA.
Yeah. Yeah, so, man, that's still crazy to think, though, that, like, 25 years already.
25 years.
Yeah, I mean, not consecutive years, but still 25 years in the business nonetheless.
25. That's like some Gold Dust stuff where his shirt says, I've been wrestling for 5 decades. You're like, I mean, technically.
But after her, Raquel comes in, and at this point, we're, like, trying to figure out like who could be left, especially because of the people that were like had already announced.
Yeah,
and we're just inevitably waiting for Charlotte to come out, and she comes out 27.
Jack, right here, 27. We are, I think, 90% through the participants, and I go, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. I was having such a good time, Jack. She takes 8 days to get to the ring. The camera cuts away from her because she can't get that jacket off because the jacket is her. Insufferable. Impossible. Jack, she's the Kansas City Chiefs of this stupid organization.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Aaron Paul, she can't keep getting away with this.
They try and lighten the mood right after by having Julia come out.
They try to lighten the mood, pretending like people like to see her. Indianapolis, this dude. Raw set her straight. Raw told her how they felt. Cleveland, Ohio, I saw you.
Then Nia comes out.
I could feel Nia's absence, Jack. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's gonna come in and have that moment.
Yeah, I know it's funny because you expect the typical they all team up to eliminate her, but she ends up finishing this Rumble with the most eliminations at 9.
2 things, Jack. One, they did the thing where they all try to gang up on her, but she like Godzilla'd out. Like Big Show, like push them all away. And I don't know if you noticed, but Charlotte's not in the fray. It's like she was trying to avoid the fray, but Nia pushed everyone with such ferocity, they knocked into Charlotte anyway.
Hey, leave it to her to not want to sell.
I was like, I think she's back there on purpose, but they got her. Boom. Then the other thing, Jack, so Nia Jax's going to get 9 eliminations, and I think 6 of them were at the same time, and I hate it, Jack. I thought it really ruined the whole Rumble that there were so many competitors on the apron sort of battling each other out, and she just goes, boop. And I'm like, that's how you got rid of Bianca? That's how you got rid of Stephanie? That's how you got rid of Naomi? They're just in this one cluster of people in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Yeah. And then, Io and Liv are also eliminated by her.
Yep. Io in there for an hour, but she got booped.
Yeah. And then number 30 is Nikki Bella.
Wah wah. People were excited.
Yeah, people were
I was,
excited.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised, but like it was like at this point I didn't know who else to expect to even be in that spot other than my dad's pick of Jade.
Or AJ Lee,
Yeah, true. I saw people expecting that too.
whom I understand is physically healthy and her husband's in good spirits with the company, and you never not think about it, Jack. You got to be thinking about it.
It's always gonna be there in the back of people's minds.
Or Becky. Where was Becky, Jack?
But
That little girl's grown up. She's at school. She's in college. Where's Becky?
but begrudgingly, sir, we have to talk about the ending.
Nia ruined everything. Somehow she gets thrown out by Raquel, or Roxanne Perez, which is weird. Or who? Oh no, Nia is credited as being thrown out by Charlotte. Of course she did.
Yeah.
That was Charlotte and Roxanne, Jack, and I'm like, you're not. As much as this company's changed, you ain't gonna put it on Roxanne. I know that.
And that's the most upsetting part to me is
Yeah.
how predictable this was.
Goodness.
Like I literally had a rant last year on an episode literally talking about that. I just feel too many of the companies have gotten predictable. You can see their plans months ahead. We had gone, a couple years with trying to avoid this, not being able to tell at times, who was going to be the next champion, who was going to win this match. But it seems like so many matches of the past years, like, or not even just the matches, but it's like the storylines, the champion lineage. It's like you see it coming from like a mile away, and these companies aren't doing anything to, get away from that like predictability. It's like the moment she returned and the moment she announced herself, it's like everyone was like, well, she's winning it. Who else is going to win it at this point? It doesn't matter that, the owner of this company changed. We know who's, like, there are still habits that die hard and are refusing to die.
That's what's got me all frustrated, Jack. Even though the old man's out, even though it's a new era, the Netflix era, Triple H loves himself some Ric Flair, don't he? Everything he did in the early 2000s was patterned after Ric Flair. Of course he'd like Charlotte. Dang it. Dang it.
And it's so frustrating because, how poetic was it that I compared it to the 2022 Rumble because of the Def Rebel stuff? And then, wait, did Charlotte win that year? Oh, no, was it Ronda? It was Ronda, right?
Ronda, who just waltzed in and was like, yeah, this is happening. It reminds me, Jack, of that American episode trope you pointed out, that they themselves pointed out, where it's like, it's Roger. It's always going to be Roger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you see Raw?
Yes.
Them people were not letting her have it. They weren't letting her have her moment. They were not playing along. And, it's funny, like, maybe what would soften this blow is, please, stop pretending like she's a face,
Yeah. And not only that, like, the biggest frustration of it all that we've been saying for years now is why can she not have anything outside of the title scene?
Goodness. At least Bailey's going down to, throw it down with some NXT folk.
Yeah. At least Becky had, like, that whole year after losing the title, like, feuding with other people, like Nia,
Yeah. Just on the grounds of being tough or,
Or feuding with Trish.
who's got the stronger legacy or, battling Thank You, Trish. Yeah, that was epic.
Yeah, it's like, as much as I don't like the Four Horsewomen, it's like at least 3 out of the 4 have shown they don't need the title to be relevant.
This all will pay off, Jack. This will all be worth it if she challenges Tiffany Stratton and learns the hard way at WrestleMania in Las Vegas what time it is.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's if you lose, look all mad on the camera or like smile on the camera after the match has been lost,
No, I want her to prettiest moonsault that look right off her face.
Very, very disappointing to what was a pretty good Rumble with a lot of good people in it.
Yes.
Yeah, very frustrated with that one, but oh well. That's all you
Oh
can say.
well.
After that, we get a bit of. Isn't it kind of odd to refer to a 2 out of 3 falls match as a cool down match?
That is certainly one way to look at it.
But we get a 2 out of 3 falls match between the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY for the tag titles. The tag titles are finally on a pay-per-view.
Hey, Motor City Machine Guns are finally on our pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Premium live event.
Yeah, gotta give props.
And I don't know if you picked it up, Jack, but on their way down to the ring, DIY is brandishing their titles. And Michael Cole's telling you about all the 2 out of 3 falls matches these guys have won as a tag team against folks like FTR. No, the Revival. He's got to call them the Revival.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit excited for this, just given the names, and plus, I was just finally happy to see the tag titles featured on a, card for once.
And so with that, Jack, and your affinity for tag team wrestling, what'd you think?
I thought it was all right. Nothing too. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's such a weird thing considering the 2 teams involved and the stipulation, but I don't know. It's just all right to me. I did enjoy it, but it was like, I don't know. It wasn't anything too crazy.
I don't know why it was 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, I didn't get that part either. I mean, I was happy to see the stipulation because it means more time for the 2 teams, hopefully, and, a better, constructed match and story.
I think maybe also I was thinking about, how short the match felt. It was 14 minutes long.
Yeah, and it was funny because my dad had said, it's going to be 2 out of 3 falls, but each of the first 2 falls are probably going to take place within, 5-7 minutes.
Which it definitely did.
Yeah. And then the ending,
Before you get to the ending, I just want to say, I was prepared to be underwhelmed by a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match on a PLE, but the Motor City Machine Guns, whom I've seen, impressed me.
Yeah.
Guys as old as they are, I'm like, hey now, look at you. Looking like you're trying to make a name for yourself. I see you with your tag team. You know what I love? I love those double team moves,
Yeah.
I'm like, heck yeah, dude. More of that.
Yeah, I thought they did pretty good. I just hope that the tag division is given more time so that they can get more appreciation for stuff like this, it was something I noticed that the time really had an influence with, and that's that, they were starting to build interest from the crowd, and then things finally ended, before that interest could really peak from the crowd.
Yeah. But it did end on a note where, you're definitely left sort of thinking about what's going to happen next. And, these guys are acting like they got a division, right?
Yeah, and we are met at the end with, I don't know if it's a return.
That's the thing about these shows, these SmackDown and Raws with 4 matches, right? It's not that they've been gone, they just haven't fought.
Yeah. We are, of course, referring to the Street Profits interfering. We see Angelo Dawkins hit Alex Shelley with a crutch, and that sets up for Ciampa and Gargano to win the match. And then afterwards, they beat down basically both teams, And it's looking to set up a potential 3-way that, knowing this company and their tendencies, you would assume, this is going to be on the next show, like Elimination Chamber. No, it's probably getting dragged out till Mania, where they have more matches.
One of the adjacent SmackDowns,
or maybe a punishment, or not. Maybe what would be a worse outcome is showing having a 3-way match on Saturday Night Main Event.
Hey, we got our title match. Yeah, it's on Saturday Night Main Event. No. Like they see the writing on the wall. It's in canon. You're like, dang it.
Yeah, but there's, I don't know, that's the 2 likely outcomes. It's it happens on a SmackDown, or it gets dragged out till Mania.
Remember all the strong feelings people had about wrestling on the pre-show? I would kill for a match on the pre-show now.
Yeah, no
Let it
lie.
be anyone doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that this is a chance for the Street Profits to be used more. You know.
I wish, I wish they hadn't touched the belts. Have you ever heard that rumor
Oh
that,
yeah.
like, that you don't touch the belt?
Uh, I don't know. I really like the two of them. I hope there's more for them. It's so funny. I've been hoping for more out of them, and I've been hoping for more. Well, not more, but a return to form for Bianca. I think her like break from the title scene has like at least like the two world title scenes. Like she's had a couple of challenges for them, but like she's had a pretty decent amount of time away that it's like done her a favor where people are like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing her back solo and in that, being that main focus again.
I mean, we got a story ready to go. It has nothing to do with the title, only the drama between two friends turned enemies because somebody threw somebody else into the windshield of a car.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting when that happens. I do
Mm-hmm.
wonder when Jade returns.
Yeah, I wonder too.
But moving forward, our next match right before the men's rumble, a ladder match for the undisputed WWE Championship between Cody and Kevin Owens.
Have you been enjoying this build, Jack?
I definitely have. Kevin, has really been very humorous in the build a lot, especially because it's like it's a very funny sort of like build up of like like the classic trope of like I guess like an example you can give is like from The Simpsons where it's like I forget the guy's name, but like he's trying to get everyone to like see Homer the way he does, but like
Oh, Frank Grimes.
yeah.
Yeah, he does. He does have this Frank Grimes approach to trying to like reveal Cody to be, something worse than he presents.
Yeah.
It's hard for me not to enjoy his little Kevin Owens isms, right? Like Saturday night's main event, it's a contract signing, and we've seen dozens of them. But he comes out with a shirt that says "Cody sucks eggs," and I'm like, I am so easy to please.
Or did you see the one where he was coming out to like the imitation of the whole like son of a plumber, where instead it was like son of like let me search
A
it up.
Canadian, some like technician, a Canadian plumber, or not plumber, but a Canadian like tech assistant or something.
Yeah, the Canadian dream, son of a security systems technician.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. I wanted him to win. I'm rooting for him to win in this match as it starts in our recap.
Yeah, and it was funny because my dad was talking about, do you think this is where Sami Zayn turns? And I'm like, thinking about it, I'm like, well, no, because the men's rumble would probably main event. They want to save like all their people, and then when not to spoil, but when he comes out later on in the match, I'm just like, oh, could that be happening here? Nope, sorry. That's too unpredictable for the cards,
Yeah.
But getting ahead of ourselves, sir, what did you think of the match?
So the night of the event, I fell asleep and missed this whole match. I woke up to the finish, like literally the finish, and I thought they had this epic blowout. This like this tour de force. Turns out this, like the tag team match, wasn't that much longer. It wasn't that much longer. It's 25 minutes. And actually that's surprising because it felt like it was very short.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely because it felt like they were going through a lot of different spots pretty quickly,
It's funny where it's a ladder match, climb the ladder, get the title. So, Jack, the thing you do is you're going to go out and fight into the crowd.
Yeah.
Getting further and further away from the titles.
Yeah. You've been mentioning commentary all this time. I did find the comment from Michael Cole to be interesting that, like, no one's had more title matches at the Rumble than Owens.
Yeah, a very interesting statistic that I'm certainly aware of.
And then I couldn't believe how much that tiny ladder was used in this match. I thought it was gonna be like a one-off spot, but like they really got use out of that little ladder.
I don't. I was. I wasn't. I was surprised. Then I wasn't surprised. Like I had an initial reaction. I was like, "What do you think was going to happen to me?" Like just the vicious bumps that Kevin takes onto different ladders and different positions. You're like, he made a career out of this.
Yeah, and then there was a spot where he used Cody used like a piece of the ladder, and you got Wade Barrett on commentary going nuts for it because it was something he did as well.
Ah, yes. They're smart back there at the commentary table.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy spots, and then of course, you know, there was also the spot where Cody was like hanging in the air with the titles because Owens like pushed him off the ladder. But then of course you get the build up to that big old spot. Here comes Sami Zayn, trying to play both sides, worried about both guys that he considers friends, one his best friend. And it's very interesting to see his reaction to when Cody he puts Kevin Owens through the ladder that's bridged between the ring and the announcer table of an Alabama Slam. And, that reaction from Zayn is very interesting because you wonder how's it going to play into, these next coming weeks of build,
Agreed. And Sammy's reaction to that, the biggest Alabama Slam I think anybody's ever seen. Golly, it was Terry Funk running to Mick Foley's aid at 97's Hell in the Cell against The Undertaker.
Yeah. Yeah. But Cody comes out with the win. To be expected at this point,
I think I heard Jim Ross yell, "By God, he killed him!"
Definitely would have liked Kevin to win. We've been saying that since the first title match. And to me, I don't think that's an indication that like I haven't been enjoying Cody's run, but it's like it's just that desire for a switch up, something unpredictable.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I also have had a lot of mixed feelings about Cody's run. Right. This match was certainly a change of pace. You know what I mean? Like this showed it. Like I think he puts on like the "I'm getting serious" voice and face. He's done that in the past. This one felt a little more warranted and felt like the payoff was better. Like oh, don't get me started. Like oh, you really riled my feathers up. Yeah. The Alabama Slammer threw that ladder, folded up Kevin Owens like an accordion. I'm like, if I were a challenger for your title, I'd think twice about the things I say about your father or your brother.
Yeah. And then, probably from here, I don't know where Cody pivots, like that's the most interesting thing is where's Cody pivoting from here. You presume for Kevin, the pivot is that whenever Randy comes back, that's his feud.
Interesting. Yeah, like Cody, I think his next few months is dictated by his challenger. I don't know if he picks him. I think somebody calls him out and sets that course, sets that story off on our road to WrestleMania.
Yeah. And speaking of that road, we cap it off with the Men's Royal Rumble.
Woo!
And this match starts off very nicely. We got Rey Mysterio and Penta starting off, which that's how much time has passed that we didn't get to talk about the debut of Penta in WWE.
What'd you think, Jack?
I thought it was pretty cool. Like I've been digging the way they've been presenting him,
yeah.
It's very interesting, because I was wondering how they're going to do it. Not that he needs Rey Fenix necessarily to debut, but it's like I was interested, like how are they going to build him up and prepare for his brother's eventual debut?
Did I tell you about my fantasy booking, what I want them to do? I want him to talk about Rey Fenix like he's a brother on the other side of the border that he's trying to help come over. He's like, I send letters to mi hermano all the time. It's bad, and I want to bring him here.
Oh man, but Yeah, they start with those two, and then Gable comes in, and then Carmelo Hayes comes in, and
Hold
then
on, Jack. You can't brush through the first of, maybe a couple of, notable moments or controversies. Jack, did Penta's feet hit the floor?
oh yeah, I saw that, and I was like, that might have been something they just straight up ignored for the sake of not wanting to ruin all the good
Again, I've
spots.
shouted them out already, but the city of Indianapolis, kudos to you all, because you all unanimously agreed we don't care. Run it back. Keep it going.
Yeah, well, the reason I named the first four is to kind of show just how well they started this Rumble off with a lot of
Yeah.
great guys. And could you imagine if they had like just said, "Screw it," he ended up getting out. We gotta just deal with it. And you look at how much time he had in this Rumble at 42 minutes. Could you imagine if, with all that they did with Penta in this Rumble, if that's how his first Rumble went, where they're just like, "We can't ignore it. He's out. Someone tell him to get out."
Not only that, Jack, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start this rant here that I started with your dad on Saturday. They called this the most stacked men's rumble in like history, right? Because there's a lot of names that are going to come up later. There's a lot of contenders who could have won this one, right? Like, this is certainly a special rumble. But when you start calling it things like the most stacked rumble in the history of the rumble, I'm going to call foul. Because we've got Carmelo Hayes and Santos Escobar taking up a lot of real estate in that ring.
Oh man, yeah. I feel really bad for the booking Carmelo Hayes has gotten, but it's like, I don't know, like they haven't really done much with him to make you really care for him being included.
It's funny. Like I think about guys like him and Austin Theory, and then you learn, Jack, that they're like younger than you, and I'm like, there's time. There's all the time in the world.
Yeah. After that, Otis comes in, be the big guy in the first half of the Rumble. Braun Breaker comes in at 7, which must have got you very interested, right?
Jack, midweek, I wondered who the Intercontinental Champion was because I couldn't think of it. That's what I think, Jack, of Braun Breaker. I was like, who's the champion nowadays? It happens all the time. They make them feel special, and then they don't feel special no more. I mean, people are enjoying him. I don't get the appeal. And I was like, come on now. It's a Royal Rumble. Impress me, Braun, if that is your real name. Oh, Jack, Saturday night's main event. Did you see him versus Sheamus?
Yes.
Did you hear Jesse Ventura's commentary?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the entrance, Braun Breaker comes out. He's doing his like face, you know what I mean? Zoomed in camera, that Mark Henry angle, and Michael Cole's, like he's so strong and he's so tough and he's so fast. And Jesse Ventura, who doesn't care about anything in the world, goes, "Yeah, Cole, but don't forget he's a Steiner. That means there's nothing in between the ears, if you know what I mean. 2 + 2 = 5. You know what I mean? You can have all the brawn in the world, but at what cost?" Calling out the whole family.
Yeah, I found that hilarious.
Heck
He
yeah.
said that man just doesn't care.
Goodness gracious. Well, the most stacked Rumble in the history, Jack, continues with Akira Tozawa.
Yeah, Akira Tozawa is number 8, who only then gets taken out by a simple hit to the back from Carmelo Hayes, and that's enough.
It's worse, Jack, that it's not just a hit to the back, it's a Carmelo Hayes hit to the back. It's like, what on earth knocked you out?
Yeah, they couldn't do anything more for some reason. They take him back, and we're told that I Show Speed is taking his spot, because why not?
It's a surprise, Jack. It's off the cuff. It's random. But they also had his music queued up.
Oh, man. What? Just so random. And, he's only in there for less than a minute, He helps Braun eliminate Otis and then takes a mean old spear that, not to discredit Braun, but only looks effective due to how small Speed is.
To call it a spear would be a bit of a generous description. It was more like A clothesline from hell, which I wish he'd just call it. You know what I mean? Just go for some straight arms. You know what I mean? Yeah, he knocked him down with his body really fast.
Yeah, and then he throws him out. All right. So much for the most stacked Rumble, wasting a spot like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jack. It was entertaining. It was really hilarious.
But
The spear. Then Otis carried him like no, and then he didn't just drop him, Jack. He fall away slams him into the commentary table, which for some reason has been incredibly reinforced in the last month.
yeah, I noticed that too.
I'm sure. I wish he was down there going, I thought this broke on Impact.
But after that, Sheamus comes out, so he gets to go at it with Braun even more. Jimmy comes out. Andrade.
This counts as a return, I think, Jack.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, is this technically a return? Because how long has it been since we last saw Jimmy?
I think last time we saw Jimmy, it was the Survivor Series.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think he got injured in there.
Yeah.
And then Andrade shows up and is only in for like 3 minutes.
Do you know Andrade and Charlotte divorced?
Yeah, I saw that in the news. And then Jacob Fatu gets in, and things get kind of interesting.
Things get kind of interesting, Jack. Yes.
He throws out Gable, throws out Mysterio, throws out Andrade. Gets a lot of big-time eliminations, really showing off, Jacob Fatu. Ludwig Kaiser is after him and gets eliminated in 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's by Penta. And once again, 42 minutes in the Rumble, that's his only elimination.
It was memorable, at least.
Yeah, it was at least memorable.
By the way, kudos to WWE for working around his name and the legalities that surrounded his name since, he started. It hasn't been Pentagon in a long time because of, Mexico owns Pentagon, so it's been Pentacero Miedo, Hijo de Penta. They went, we're just going to call you Penta, bro. And I'm like, heck yeah.
Hey, what's it called? The most stacked Rumble continues as we get The Miz in here for 5 minutes.
At least he headlined the Mania and was champion for a couple of times.
After that, a surprise that got a pretty big pop. Joe Hendry showing up from NXT, or I was about to say NXT, TNA. I called
Indianapolis. They knew him. They believed. That was cool.
Yeah, it was funny though because I've seen videos since that proved me wrong, but I think it was just because of the way it sounded over TV.
Yeah,
I told my dad when it happened, I was like, man, you can only think maybe he would have gotten a bigger pop had this happened at the peak of his popularity.
Also, his title win would have felt just as impactful if it had happened at a different time, Jack.
Yeah, and I've seen videos from people there that kind of show it was actually louder than what was on TV. So, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, man, that just kind of goes to show how long of how long it's been, but also how quickly the wrestling world moves. That this would have been a much bigger deal if it had happened at the peak of his popularity,
Yeah. The summer, you think, right?
Yeah.
Not the summer, but Wade Barrett is great. He has that call he's an overnight sensation and it only took 15 years.
Yeah. And
I wish he had gotten to do more. He gets no eliminations. He just gets to throw the Miz around, but he does throw around a former WWE champion and WrestleMania main eventer.
Yeah, and then, man, just to really kind of show you how, odd this Rumble was to me, it's right after him, we get Roman in the Rumble.
And here we go. It's the second half of a 2-act play, and business is picking up.
Yeah, Roman comes in. He eliminates, who's he eliminate? He eliminates The Miz.
And Joe Hendry.
Yeah, and Joe Hendry. And
gets speared by Braun Breaker.
Yeah. I think he's the one who eliminates Sheamus.
Yep.
And then we get the showdown between him and Jacob Fatu.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. I'm really wondering when that match is going to happen.
Hey, spoiler alert for the second half of this Rumble, but you know who was not eerily, but ominously absent from this whole affair?
Who?
Solo.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that too.
There was no Solo to be seen or heard.
I don't think we've seen him since Netflix debut.
On SmackDown, he came out and he didn't say anything. He just dropped the mic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's what led to the Jacob Fatu promo.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Jacob picked up the mic and he says, "Now it's just me, Oos."
Oh man.
But he told Braun Strowman, "You're not Godzilla or King Kong, cause I'm both."
Yeah, I really liked that promo. That was really good.
All drive, no brakes, or all gas, no brakes.
They're gonna make us do a top 10 promos of the year at the end of the year.
It's a Will Ospreay like list of just Jacob.
After Roman comes in the man I'm wearing the shirt of right now as we record, Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm. He's walking in, Jack, going, "I'm gonna tell so much story in this match."
Yeah, and he gets to face off with Roman, a familiar foe.
And familiar foe, but I can't think of, Jack, the last time they were in the ring together. Another great part of the Rumble.
Yeah.
He's been dealing with all of his friends and family, but he's like, "This is all your fault."
Yeah. Then Balor comes in, and I think he also got a change of music because he almost doesn't get barely any pop.
I like his music. It fits the "we're rude dudes with attitude" of the Judgment Day. But yeah, no one knows it from Adam.
Then after this, I'm trying to remember. I think Penta gets eliminated by Balor soon after this, right?
Penta is eliminated by Balor.
Yeah, I remember that. And then Shinsuke comes in. He's in there for such a short time, barely does anything.
Remember that he's the United States champion? I didn't.
Oh, man. It's funny how people were talking about, like, those titles, like, making a return, and now look at the state they're in.
And, kudos to commentary for trying as he's walking out to the ring with his spooky music and makeup and U.S. title that we sometimes remember. They're telling you, hey, this guy's won a Rumble. Do you know that?
That's always, like, that's so long ago. Like,
it was so long ago.
And then number 20, Jay comes out, Jay Uso. We'll get to him eventually.
We will.
21 is a return with AJ Styles.
The biggest return, Jack, bigger than Alexa Bliss, bigger than Trish Stratus, bigger than John Cena. It's the return of AJ Styles' original theme music in WWE.
I don't know,
we don't want that, Jack. We don't want none. I don't know what kind of strings he had to pull, but I was as excited as if red masked Kane from 1999 with the long hair and the abs for days came out to wrestle.
And it was funny because I heard it playing because I wasn't like looking at the TV. I forgot what I was doing because family was over.
Yeah.
And I was like, whose theme is that? I was trying to remember. I was like, I remember hearing this theme a lot, especially when playing the games. Who is this? I couldn't remember for the life because that's how long it's been.
Jack, when you heard the music, did you look to this TV in an exasperated look with squinting your eyes a la Roman Reigns in 2017?
Oh my gosh. I will never forget that that's how they decided to debut him.
Roman giving you the, what the? Hey, how about on Raw? Logan Paul's music hits and Seth's got his back to the entrance and he looks at Gunther going, "Who's that?"
You know what? They should have done that with Jordan. They should have recreated it. She debuts and like they're showing someone's face just the entire time.
100%. We're like, what?
Braun comes in after AJ. He's in there for such a short time. And
Way to sell the Saturday night's main event massacre that was like a week ago.
yeah. Cena shows up at the 23 spot. I'm trying to remember. There's a couple eliminations in between this. Jacob Fatu got eliminated by Braun, which is surprised me because I would have thought it would have had to be like there would have been some involvement from like Roman, you know.
You know, Braun had his revenge to be had. He did get killed a week ago, and I guess he's okay. So I don't know. Storyline, it makes sense. Jacob should have eliminated him after killing him again. Justice for Jacob. Jacob getting thrown out of here. The one-man Jacob Fatu getting thrown out of here made me just as mad as those 7 women getting knocked out by Nia Jax in the last Rumble.
Yeah. And then Braun just gets eliminated by Cena afterwards. And then Balor gets eliminated, which some people were talking about. Was that supposed to happen?
Yeah, because Cena throws him out. Braun looks like he's in position to catch him, but he drops him.
Yeah. And then you see Braun kind of throw his hands in anger, basically.
I imagine it would have been like Otis in I Show Speed, where if he caught him, it would have just been like, hardy har har, your fate's in my hands. I'm going to chuck you across this this ringside area.
Yeah, and that's what I brought up to my dad about it. I was like, even if they messed that spot up, would it even have made sense if Balor somehow survived?
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, if after we just saw what Otis did to Speed, why would they do a similar spot where this time Braun lets him survive for whatever reason?
Unless,
what would he have?
Finn's much smaller. Maybe he's like a squirrel and he just starts crawling across Braun's back and he's like, you know what I mean? Like he's trying to get a hold of him, but he's like running around him like a tree trunk, and he makes it back to the apron. Maybe.
Yeah.
You just said, yeah. That must be it. The Looney Tunes-esque squirrel running around a tree bit you described. That was what they were going for.
Well, I mean, at this point, I have no clue what they were going for in this Rumble. Things just really went all over the place after this.
Well, business is picking up again. We're going to enter a higher gear. Number 24, the man, the myth, the legend. Your hero. You have a tattoo of him, CM Punk.
I was wearing his shirt, but as I told my dad, I'm wearing it as a reverse jinx to hope that he loses. Mm-hmm. Even though all 4 of us picked him and I went along with it because I just couldn't imagine who else was going to win, I wanted to jinx the man.
And as I described to you, Jack, going into this event, I told you, I said, you know what, man? I was there in 2013 or 14, whenever it was, when it was 434-day reign champion. He's going to main event WrestleMania once and for all, finally. Who's this, The Rock coming back? What? He was done dirty. We were all done dirty, and we're all living vicariously through him. We all have unresolved issues, and this man, give him what he wants. It's another story to close like Cody's.
Yeah. So he gets in there, and then after him comes in comes in Rollins.
Yeah. And you know what I like about Rollins? So when Punk comes in, Cena, Punk, Roman, they're all doing that Mexican standoff thing that everyone did way too much of. And when Rollins comes in, he's like, nah, bruh, I'm here to hurt people. Double leg takedown.
Yeah.
Stops for everyone.
After him, Dom comes in. Doesn't last too long. He ends up getting thrown out pretty soon by a later entry. But, he gets some stuff in. Sammy comes in at 27. He does some stuff. Damian comes in at 28, and that's who eventually eliminates Dominic Mysterio. Also eliminates... first Sammy gets eliminated by Jey Uso on accident. That was a big spot because it kind of adds further to that story of Sammy really building up a lot of frustration with many different people.
Yeah, well, it's every man for himself, but I think Jay was going after somebody who moved, right?
Yeah.
I have to send you this YouTube video, Jack. It makes fun of Sammy, all of the accidents that he's had recently. Like, did you mean to kick Cody? Did you mean to kick Seth? Did you mean this? This makes this really funny cartoon, kind of parodying that. He makes a lot of cool cartoons. In this most recent one, he's really getting after Sammy.
Oh man, I need to definitely see that because the man has been on a kicking spree, and now he's the one that gets kicked.
Goodness.
After Damien at number 29 comes in LA Knight. And this is where chaos ensues between LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre.
I think you mean LA Knight and Logan Paul, and it got in the way of Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso and Jack. So we heard the story. It was LA Knight, was he in the wrong place? Did he get in the way? Did he ruin a moment? Jack, I'm inclined to agree with what I've heard because I think there was something to Drew was trying to eliminate. Do you know who he was trying to eliminate?
No.
So Drew has got his hands on Jay. And I think it would have been a really big moment if he was like, I'm going to get your whole family once and for all. And he's trying to eliminate Jay. And then that's thwarted by Damian. But we needed teetering on the rope. And then Damian comes and goes, yeet. You ruined everything. And then you come to the end of the match, right? And I think, things would have hit a little bit different if it wasn't so awkward and clumsy.
Yeah, and you mentioned number 30, or you mentioned who ended up being number 30, Logan Paul.
I wish I didn't know he was going to be in this, but when it was 30 and there was one man left and I knew it was going to be him because I'm watching Raw on Netflix, I was like, Murr!
Yeah, I had totally forgotten about it until Marco brought it up, and he was like, oh, wait. There's only one person left, and Logan Paul isn't coming. I was like, it's true, but why did you have to ruin it for me? I mean, it saved me the disappointment, but it was like, it just made me even more disappointed. I'm like, this guy's still here.
No, Jack, that's not Diesel Kevin Nash coming out to the ring. That's my sound of disappointment.
Yeah, he comes in, and then that whole thing happens, and it really throws things off because, Damian ends up getting eliminated by LA Knight later on. Mm-hmm. And then LA Knight gets eliminated by AJ Styles, I think. But the reason I mentioned this whole confusion thing is because you really sense that Drew was supposed to be a part of the big spot that happened towards the end of this match.
I don't know. I think he got eliminated when he got eliminated. I just think it happened in a way that, you can't replay that moment as often as you'd like.
Yeah.
But, what's funny, Jack, about both Rumbles? Like, some of those eliminations, it's hard to tell which ones are as planned and which ones aren't,
Yeah. And also, how about our final, 6 competitors being, a lot of big names? You have Roman. You have Cena.
Yeah.
You have Punk. You have Rollins.
Yep.
And then you have
Jay.
Yeah, you have Jay and then Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. So Seth and Roman are teetering, having that moment. This is exactly the moment Drew wanted to have, Jack. It's playing out exactly how he wanted it to happen with a different story, different characters. Punk comes in with his Macho Man trunks and he dumps him over the top in OMG.
Yeah. And, it's a big time moment. Oh, my gosh. Roman, Seth, both out. And then Punk gets eliminated. And usually I would cheer that on. But it's because of who he got eliminated by that I can't even cheer it on.
Dang.
The man gets eliminated by Logan Paul, of all people.
You know what, Jack? I'm not against Punk beating up Logan Paul. Challenging Logan Paul, fighting Logan Paul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, running him down on the mic? I'm not against that.
Yeah. But that all happens, and that leaves us with a final 3 of Logan Paul, Jey Uso, and John Cena.
And Jack, this final 3 gave me the same feeling in the pit of my stomach as the women's final 3, which was Nia, Roxanne, and Charlotte. Because in each of those, there's a super dark horse, there's a don't you dare, and then there's this weird outlier where it's like, you couldn't have picked the worst person to put in this position. Logan Paul, the Nia Jax of the men's division.
Yeah, I was not very happy with this final three. Logan gets eliminated by Cena, and it leads to a very long final sequence between Cena and Jay. Oh, but before we get into that, we have to talk about what happened after all three men were eliminated. Rollins.
Oh, it's true. There's a lot that happened after Rollins, Roman, and Punk are all found themselves outside and eliminated, bickering at each other. Just like Gunther called it, he's like, all their drama's going to come out, and I'm going to watch from the back. And, how could you do this to me? And I thought we were friends. And then Rollins comes in with the biggest stomp in the world. He saw Cody's Alabama Slamma and said, hold my Rockstar Energy drink or whatever sponsoring Raw nowadays. Two-footed stomp. Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah, my goodness. That was some crazy stuff. And then you had like Michael Cole on commentary, like almost like begging for mercy for Roman. And I looked at my dad and I'm like, are we really doing this right now? Like, this is the man that terrorized the roster for like 4 years, 5 years, and now we're begging for sympathy for the man.
I'm going to quote Big E, who himself is quoting Hall of Famer Jim Ross. That man has a family, Jack.
Oh, man. But back to the Rumble. Cena and Jay, last two people.
Pack it up, Jack. We're going home. This is it. Cena's on his tour de force. He's going to win that 17th championship. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. OMG. LOL. Get the post conference ready.
Yeah, except it doesn't happen. Two of them are fighting on the outside.
They're on the outside, Jack. He's got him in the AA. Come on, get the interviewers, get the wrestling journalists in the room. Come on now, get your questions ready. Cena's on his way.
And then Jay slips out and pushes Cena off the apron to win the Rumble.
The fact that Cena landed on his feet, upright, it felt like when a guy walks into the end zone, there's no push or shove or challenge. He literally just kind of walks into the end zone. Yeah. It's like, dang. Yeah. And I reacted, Jack. Oh, I reacted. They got me. I was like, I got. Yeah. Like R-Truth in 2012. I got.
What do you think of this, sir?
I like to be surprised. I want to be surprised, and they got me. I really thought this was going to go one way, and they really said, you think you know me is what they said. And I like, a risk like this,
Yeah, very, very surprising. Was not expecting it. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of the choice, but, not surprised in the sense of why, the reasons behind why they would go with Jay. It wasn't my pick, but I guess so, it's caused a lot of discourse online.
Certainly. And I thought about his match with Gunther at Saturday night's main event. He's had his fair share of title attempts, right? And I really think that he's been missing sort of this this build, this arc. You know what I mean? Saturday night's main event happened in a matter of weeks, Now he's got this road to WrestleMania where he could do it. He could do it, Jack, in a way that people would believe. I tell you what, Jack, on Monday, I'm not going to lie, Jack, I'm pretty surprised. I'm very surprised at how much people like yeeting. They like him. They like dancing. And I was trying to come up with a comparison for a guy at work who hasn't watched wrestling since the 90s because that's what people do. And I was like, who can I compare Jay to? I'm like, who's that guy who had one word and not a big, move set? He isn't a wrestler, but he was just really entertaining and good at what he does. And you know who I came up with, Jack? Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Interesting.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jack, was one of the most popular guys in his territory. And I'll tell you what, in the early 2000s when he was showing up as a legend, people never stopped liking two things. Going, ho, and USA, USA. Man had like a shoulder tackle as a finish, right? You know, he bumped guys. He was big, but people like doing those things. Those people on Monday, Jack, literally asked for an encore of his ring entrance song. They literally started playing it after they stopped playing it so they can keep eating. They eat it for like 6 or 7 uninterrupted minutes.
Yeah, I mean, can't fault them because of Jay's popularity, but it's just, I don't know.
So I'll tell you
I
what,
don't
Jack.
want to be a hater, but it's just like, I'm finding a difficult time getting invested in it.
He's a charismatic guy. Did you see his promo on Monday?
Yeah.
You see him like fight back the tears. He should have just cried. I don't know why he was holding it back. Just cry, man. Like he was like it. I don't know how it feels, Jack, because I don't know if that was like the rawest promo I've ever seen, right? And it's like 2025. Men can be emotional, inclusive. Or, Jack, am I of the mind of, my man's not ready for the limelight yet because we were struggling on Monday to get the words out.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's difficult to like think because, I don't know, there was just so much discourse. And I'm not like trying to be a hater, but it's like, I don't know, I'm struggling because it's like the same logic that people use for saying that people who are good in the ring but not good on the mic can never be like main eventers, I'm having that same sort of logic where it's like, yeah, he's charismatic, yeah, he's selling a ton of merch and is getting the crowd interested in him, but like the guy has shown on different occasions that like he can't really put on that good of a match due to his limited moveset, Like, I literally told my dad, I'm like, the guy unanimously last year had the worst match on the entire WrestleMania card between both nights. Like, everyone kind of unanimously was like, that match was not good,
So I think, like, for me to be all in on Jay, I think he needs a new finisher. He's got a spear, he's got the splash, but he needs something like a big impact move, I think he needs that. I think he needs to like say less and say it louder, I think it can work. And like I tell you what, I hated his song when he started being on his own. Now it's just me, Oos Townsends. Now it's just, and I'm like, what a stupid song. But then I thought about another charismatic fella in the early 2000s, Jack. The Rock had a song who would just go, The Rock says. And like taking in isolation, he was like, The Rock says. Literally just that, with some jazzy music and guitar. The Rock says. I'm like, honestly, that shouldn't have been as cool as it was.
I don't want to be too salty, but because it seems like we didn't go off on Charlotte enough, I got to sprinkle a little bit of salt in there just to satisfy.
Testify.
The joke I gave, or the joke I told Ricky, who's been kind of supportive of this Jey Uso win, I told him everybody wants a Jey Uso title reign until they have to watch a Jey Uso title reign.
Dang. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. What do you think, Jack? What's like that one element that he could build, develop to like convince you further of his, his success?
I definitely kind of agree with. I would like if he was a bit more. I don't know. He comes off very authentic with his promos as of late. Even before like that one. Like,
I agree.
Like he has this ability to let his charisma just naturally be displayed. Where it doesn't really feel forced. Even with like the whole yeet thing, it's like he's found a way to make it very organic, rather than when like he first started, it kind of seemed very forced. Like, yeah, we're trying to give this guy a like catchphrase basically, but like he's really made it into his own. I think if he just taps into that a bit more, and then obviously, just kind of diversifies his moveset a bit more and kind of changes up the structures of his matches a bit differently, then I think he can definitely improve a lot more than what we've seen in the past, because like I think back to some of those matches against Gunther, I think back to some of the IC title stuff, and I'm just like, match-wise, I don't know if he's ready, And I think like the biggest indicator of that is the fact that everyone automatically knew he was going to be challenging Gunther because Cody's obviously main eventing one of the nights, and if he's challenging Jay, that's not really main event worthy. And begrudgingly,
it's in his name, Jack.
Begrudgingly, people also don't think him and Gunther can main event. Like they're thinking Charlotte might take that spot,
How funny, Jack, that as soon as he wins, the dust settles. I'm reckoning how I feel about this, and all I can think, Jack, is all them Royal Rumble winners who definitely didn't main event WrestleMania.
Yeah, but
we got ourselves an Alberto Del Rio or Sheamus or Shinsuke.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Jay to obviously, because he's super popular,
Yeah.
And I'm never gonna root against a wrestler for the most part. Like I will always want them to improve, because like I don't just want to blindly hate wrestlers, even if I don't like their work, it's like I would want them to improve, and be better. Because I mean, it's best for the business if everyone keeps improving, So like, I hope people don't look at it as hate or like salt. I'm just not as invested in him as others, But I mean, hey, that's the company's job to really work with him on how to capitalize on this momentum best,
Yeah, there's a lot they could do, I think they missed an opportunity. Gunther should have been like, I don't want you to challenge me, and I wish Jay had more of his emotions in check so he can go, I don't want to challenge you, and then just leave him like on red and be like, what do you mean? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go see Cody. And then be like Gunther chasing him like, what do you mean you want to challenge me? Of course you want to challenge me. Like, no man, no, I'm cool. Like gaslighting him. Yeah. That'd have been cool. They didn't do that route. But then another thing is Gunther promised it. Like if Gunther like literally batters the heck out of him for the next 2 months, it would make that victory all the sweeter. Like I think that's what was missing from Saturday night's main event. I wish he had like slapped the facial hair off his face. You know what I mean? Like he needed to be like put the hurt on him so that, I think another thing about that every challenge he's made, no one ever thought he was going to win. I think the next one's going to be a little bit more special because it comes off of this Royal Rumble victory. But yeah, man, like no one thought he was going to win in January.
Yeah.
But let's put him through a trial by fire. Let's all, see him rise to the top and become a stronger person on the other end of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And brother's going to interfere and help. Yeah.
Oh man. That would be the worst outcome.
That would be amazing.
If they just leaned into more bloodline stuff.
Heck yes. Jay should. And then he becomes corrupted by the championship, Jack, and he's like, Oos, I want that Oola Fala now.
But that wraps up Royal Rumble.
Jack, I think the most exciting thing to come out of this whole event, 2 Rumbles, is the fact that CM Punk was eliminated by and may potentially start a feud with a man who uses a buckshot lariat in his arsenal.
Oh, man.
I'm sure that's not going to come up.
Hey, I'm sure he's not going to try and attempt it again and fall flat twice in a row. Oh, man. Going to be very interesting these next couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the road to WrestleMania.
I got all the anxieties when I saw, like, hey, Elimination Chamber is coming to Toronto, March 1st. I'm like, March? Like, whenever the wrestling events, like, are advertised, it just makes me aware of how fast time is. Even though January took 10 years, they're like, yeah, next event's in March. I'm like,
Yeah, and not only that, but I found it funny how they were like, oh, the winner is going to challenge whoever Jay doesn't challenge.
It's been the case. Like, that's the reality. I like that they're being upfront about it. Like, say the thing. Come on now.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to see who qualifies for those matches. They're also doing one for the women, and people are kind of frustrated because Lyra's in the qualifiers, and it's like, why is a champion in the qualifiers for another championship?
No one can hear this, but I'm shaking my head vigorously in disapproval of that choice.
But any final words you want to say, sir?
I thought it was a enjoyable night. I was caught by surprise, hoping the best for Jay and the story, and I hope Kevin Owens is okay.
Yeah, and I think a big factor is we focused on a lot of things, but we're really trying to move past the fact that Charlotte won the Women's Rumble.
You had to say it, Jack. You had to just reintroduce that into the forefront of all our minds. We were busy suppressing it, and you just went and said, hey, don't forget this thing that's real, whether you like it or not.
And it was funny because I saw someone say "Oh, it doesn't matter who Charlotte challenges; it's gonna be a dream match either way." And I'm like, we need to take away terms from the internet, because how are you going to say a dream match either way when one of the challengers she's faced multiple times before?
And she came out on Monday to confront, and it's just, you know.
But enough.
Tiffy time. That's all I'll root for. Tiffy time. She's like, I'm gonna bring back my suitcase, even though I cashed it in, just so I could use it to bash her face in.
But with that all being said, thank you all for joining for another episode. I've been Jack, joined by
Mr. Solis.
Thank you all for joining for this one, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.